Okay, so we're going back to some of the questions from the community, and we picked one today to speak to, and this is the question: does the expression "our true nature" mean anything to us? And if so, what? What does true, capital T, true mean?
So we wrestled with this question this morning. Linda and I wrestled with it this morning, and um, we're not going to give you any certain answer here. We don't have one. We're not sure.
We're not sure, and I would even say the larger Buddhist community wrestles with this. This is a wrestling question. It
Right,
really, some people may come down on either side, but we come down on the side of uncertainty.
right, right. Yes, and certainly certain traditions really do speak to this in the form of something like Buddha nature, and it's not wrestled with. It is just part of the teaching.
Right, right. But since we were wrestling, I'm kind
Right,
of using that word now, Nellie. Um, we also came up with some words that true, true has meant to us, and one of mine is a hopeful possibility. And I think of like the people that have injured me or injured the larger world. I have this hopeful possibility that they would have a better true nature than what we're seeing. So that this is often what falls in my thinking.
and it's an inspiration for practice. It really is a certainty that if you practice, well enough, according, to how it should be, whatever, you will discover this, you will arrive and land at and stay at this thing called your true nature. It's also described as the unconditioned, that which is beyond all these conditions that we are living under, so to speak.
Right. And it's also described as once you get to it, you don't go back. So,
Right.
and this is really something outside of my experience that I could hold something all the time. I would never go backwards or sideways or in a different direction.
Right, right. And there was a period of time in my Buddhist history, so to speak, that I did truly believe in Buddha nature. Often in the Shambhala teachings, it's spoken about as basic sanity too. It's another kind of
Mhm.
description of it, and it was uplifting. Felt really good every time I, sort of focused there. I felt this sense of uplift, but then this uplift went along with the opposite too. Sometimes when it didn't seem like I could, you know, perfect my nature.
Mm, mm. Well, that does seem like where we land is that in that way we don't really teach to Buddha nature or teach to the unconditioned. And we looked at last week, what are our goals of the practice? What are the core of this? What is the core of this practice? And both of those are not the core. That's not the way we teach.
Right. And that's not also how we see the relief of suffering, because that certainly is a goal of ours, as it is, I think probably in all Buddhist traditions. I probably shouldn't speak to all traditions, but those that I know. Um, and that is certainly one of our directions, but we sort of paradoxically see it in looking at the conditioned rather than looking towards the conditioned, rather than looking towards the
Right.
unconditioned.
And that looking at the conditioned seems to bring the relief of suffering or the refuge or wisdom. Like there's something that we know by staying close to our experience and seeing the conditioned in it, where we feel like we're not so much living a hypothesis, we're living closer to as it really is, true to ourselves, so to speak.
Right, right. So, oh, I just had a good thought in it. it kind of went away with the winds. So I'll go to the
True
thought.
nature. You couldn't keep that that in your mind all the
Wise
time, no matter
nature,
what.
that wise self, but that I
Right.
think that has to do with more with aging in the brain than anything sort of more spiritual. But at any rate, that's up for discussion. Um, but the mystery, we use the word mystery. That's a word we commonly use, and that's how we address it. Or maybe the word mystery is sort of elevating uncertainty. It's giving it it's a nicer name, the mystery. But it's really all connected, isn't it?
Right. I think maybe too, Nellie, that we're getting back to a core value in our practice, which is uncertainty and mystery. And we really don't want to take one side in this wrestling match, of is there an unconditioned or, an unconditioned, or is there a true nature or Buddha nature? We're really trying not to state explicitly this is or this isn't.
Hmm. Right, exactly. And so again, we're talking about the middle way, which was one of the other questions. Does it all come back to the middle way? Well, we're doing that right now. We're coming back to the middle way. So maybe it does, maybe we do have the middle way as what it all comes back to. I'm not sure about that either.
I think today in this Dharma talk, that's what we're bringing out. And that is our direction in reflective meditation, is that we go to the teachings we know and we teach from the teachings we know. And if we don't know the unconditioned, we really can't teach to it.
Mm.
So we try not to stretch too far or to make too global statements out of our own experience, even our own direct experience.
And then even if there is such a thing as true nature, um, we don't even know what it would be, really. I mean, some would say it's basic sanity, basic goodness, complete relief from suffering, on and we could go. But others might say our true nature is violent, or our true nature is original
Mhm.
sin. So
Right.
what would our true nature be? I don't know.
Right, right. So by going back and forth between kind of this violent tendencies and born with a tainted soul or original sin, and between basic goodness and sanity and enlightenment, like kind of going back and forth between those, we landed in our four-cornered argument.
Because
And
we went to, the first corner, well, we don't land on there is true nature, there is Buddha nature, then we went to there is not, then we went to, well, maybe they're both true, but then, and we do believe perhaps, I don't know, but then we landed on the fourth corner.
right, right. So this is the fourth corner from our book. The fourth corner is where the mystery of practice can be seen. Surprising things come to us. We're able to describe more conditions. We can hold paradoxes and contradictions. Things don't have to make sense in the way we thought. Do you want to take the rest, Nellie?
We may experience an absence of conflict or absence of the certainty that we started with. This process allows us to see how we come to know things. There are many ways of knowing, and they arise together in interesting ways. Some are straightforward, or seem so, more logical, or reasoned, more linear. Other ways are more intuitive, associative, and even imaginative. And with that, we will end our talk for today.